It was Halloween weekend. It was falling on a Saturday this year. My mom always takes decorations and giving out candy very seriously. It's almost like she has to compete with the neighbors to have the most sought-after house to trick-or-treat at. We live on a corner in a regular suburban neighborhood, so when we're decorating, we also decorate the side yard of the house too. Since Halloween was a Saturday this year, kids started trick-or-treating earlier in the day. However, it was a cloudy, cold day, and there was a chance of rain in the forecast. My mom apparently couldn't understand that this may have been a factor as to why there weren't many trick-or-treaters out. Instead, after a few trick-or-treaters seemingly skipped our house, she assumed it was because there weren't enough decorations out to attract the trick-or-treaters. She told me to go get whatever containers were left in the attic containing decorations. I insisted this wasn't necessary, but she insisted otherwise and forced me to. So I went up to the attic, which is directly above my bedroom. The attic door is in the hallway upstairs. I pulled down the door and climbed up the ladder. We have the holiday containers sorted a specific way, so I went over to where the Halloween containers were. There were only a couple still left up there. I opened one to see what was inside, and said good enough. I started dragging the container out towards the attic door, then I carefully slid the container down the ladder. As I was about to climb down out of the attic, I thought I heard something on the opposite side of the attic, like a piece of wood cracking under the weight or pressure of something. I looked over to the wall of containers in the far corner. It's an attic though. The sound of wood snapping or cracking really wasn't that weird. I climbed down out of the attic and brought the decorations downstairs. From there, my mom and I put out some more decorations in the front yard. It was really windy and felt like rain at any second. There really weren't many trick-or-treaters at all. My mom was disappointed because she goes all out with the candy too. She's always been one of those people who makes a bunch of homemade goodie bags with a bunch of different candies inside. I could see how upset she was that she wasn't going to give most of them away at this rate. The day progressed, and I was in my room playing video games on my laptop, while my mom was downstairs in the living room and kitchen handing out candies to the few trick-or-treaters that would come. And then it started to rain, and that pretty much put a damper on the rest of the day trick-or-treaters wise. I was gaming in my room when I heard a crack from above my room, in the attic. Again, not really abnormal, but I made a mental note that that was the second time I heard something from up there. The rest of the day was rainy, and that night it turned into a thunderstorm, perfect for Halloween night. I used to be a big gamer in my teens, and so instead of going out with friends on a Saturday night, I would often just stay in playing video games, unfortunately. This night was no exception to that. I stayed up really late into the night, past my parents'. It was still raining outside. Then I heard something above me again. This time it sounded like footsteps. I was wondering if my mom was in the attic putting stuff away, but it was late at night. I sat and listened for a while. The sound stopped. I paused my game and went out into the hallway after a couple minutes, and I saw the attic door was open. I now heard noises from downstairs in the kitchen. I heard the sound of things being moved around in the fridge. My heart was racing now. I tiptoed down the hall to my parents' room and quietly opened the door. When I saw both my parents fast asleep in bed, I felt my stomach twist and I felt sick. I quietly closed the door and went up to my dad to shake him awake. He woke up easily, and I whispered to him there's someone in the house. He immediately sat up and said, "What?" I said there's someone in the kitchen right now in the fridge. I think they're hiding in the attic. My dad is not a large or confrontational man. He keeps a police baton under his bed in the case of an emergency, but I don't think he ever thought he'd have to actually use it. My dad told me to stay quiet. He went to go look out into the hall quietly. When he came back inside, he whispered that he saw someone down the hall climbing into the attic. He shut the bedroom door and he locked it and then called 911. By now, my mom was awake too, but we all stayed as quiet as possible and didn't freak out. It was now a waiting game until the police showed up. My dad went downstairs to open the front door. The attic door was now shut. The police had to go inside, and they found some homeless-looking man hiding in the corner behind that wall of containers. The sounds I was hearing were in fact from a person the whole time. The man, while seeming dirty and kind of scary looking, apparently was very straightforward and honest, that he simply walked in when he saw the front door was open the day before, and he had no place to sleep. He brought one of our blankets up there, and there was a jar of peanut butter up there too that he was eating. The whole thing is still very disturbing, and I wonder how things would have played out if I or my father confronted the man instead of the police. My parents didn't press any charges.
It was probably 4 years ago, on a Saturday night. I don't remember the exact year, and maybe that's for the best. That night, my friend Tanner and I decided we wanted to do something truly scary. That craving led us to the old house at the top of the hill, an abandoned property way up the road from campus. Everyone at school knew about it. Some called it the Blair Witch House. It sat alone, surrounded by overgrown weeds and rusted fencing, its windows boarded, its roof sagging like it was too tired to stand. No one ever went up there for long. At 10 o'clock, Tanner and I drove up and parked on the dirt shoulder outside the property. The air was cold enough that our breath fogged under the glow of the moon. From where we stood, the house was nothing but a black silhouette against the sky. Still, silent, watching. "Ready?" Tanner asked. I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. We both had flashlights and small knives in our backpacks, just in case. Tanner, being Tanner, also brought a crowbar. But when we reached the front porch, we didn't need it. The front door was already cracked open, just slightly, as if it had been expecting us. The smell hit first. Damp wood, mildew, and something faintly metallic, like blood that had long since dried. Inside, our flashlight beams revealed a sea of decay. Broken chairs, shredded wallpaper, graffiti on the walls. Dust swirled around us like tiny ghosts. "This place is dead," Tanner whispered. He shouldn't have said that. We were halfway through the living room when we both heard it. A low, hollow thud from upstairs. We froze. Then another, like slow footsteps. I glanced at Tanner. His face was pale, his flashlight trembling slightly in his grip. "Could be an animal," he whispered. "Yeah," I said, though my voice didn't sound convincing. We crept up the stairs, each step groaning under our weight. The higher we climbed, the colder it got. I could see my breath again by the time we reached the top. There were 3 doors in the narrow hallway ahead. The first room, a tiny bedroom. A broken bed frame, wallpaper peeling like dead skin. Nothing else. The second room was a bathroom. The mirror was shattered, and the air smelled foul. I noticed the tub was full of black water, still as glass. "Let's just check the last one," Tanner muttered. The third door, on the right, led to the master bedroom. The moment we opened it, the temperature dropped sharply. It felt like we'd stepped into a freezer. A bed frame still sat in the middle of the room. No mattress, no sheets, just splinters of wood. The floor was bare, carpet long ripped up. Our flashlight beams swept across the walls. There were scratches there, long, deep gouges running up from the floor. We both heard a faint noise, like whispering. But when we stopped moving, it stopped too. Then Tanner's flashlight flickered. Once, twice, and bang, the door slammed shut behind us. Before I could react, a blinding white flash filled the room. Then another. It was like someone was taking photos, rapid bursts of light cutting through the dark. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. "Tanner!" I shouted. He yanked the door open, and we bolted down the hallway, down the stairs, flashlights bouncing wildly. As we reached the front door, I thought I heard footsteps behind us, fast, uneven, chasing. We burst outside, into the cold night air. Tanner didn't stop running until we reached the car. When he started the engine, I looked back. The door we had left open was now closed. Completely shut. Neither of us said a word on the drive back to campus. The silence between us was heavier than the dark. A week later, Tanner sent me a text late at night. Just one photo. It was of him holding another photo of the two of us standing inside that master bedroom. The angle, the flash, it matched what we'd seen that night. He said the picture had been left under his windshield wiper in the dorm parking lot. I told him to burn it, to move his car, to never go back there. We only told a few close friends. After that, we stopped talking about it. But sometimes, late at night, I still dream about that flash, how bright it was. And every time I wake up, I swear I see the outline of that house in my mind, waiting for us to come back. I organized a Halloween house party at my parents' house when I was 18 years old. Since it was a closed invitation, I cautioned attendees against bringing strangers. That was a rule my parents gave me. They were not at the house that weekend, which was why I was able to throw the party, with another rule being the place needed to be even cleaner than it was before the party. About 40 people showed up out of the 50 or so people I invited. Around 6, the party started. It was getting dark outside. It would be partially on the first floor and partially in the backyard. My parents left me money for refreshments like sodas and food to leave in the kitchen for people to take. I told my parents that it would be a party without alcohol, but I think they were aware that was a complete lie. The party was in full swing by the time it got dark because my friend, who is a few years older than I am, brought his DJ equipment to DJ. I recognized everyone, so everyone seemed to listen and not bring strangers. Just about everyone came up to me and greeted me after entering. Because it was my party and I wanted to be a little more responsible, I didn't drink too much, but everyone else was getting more and more drunk as the night went on. After getting some food, one of my friends eventually left the house and inquired about the man wearing the skeleton suit inside. I went inside the house and found that a few people were hanging out in the kitchen because I didn't remember seeing anyone in a bodysuit costume. Someone said yes when I asked if they had seen someone in a skeleton bodysuit. It appeared as though he was looking around the house. I grew concerned when I heard this, and I asked if anyone invited him or knew who it was. He was unknown within. I looked around the house and then found him. He was walking down the stairs. I asked, "Who are you?" And he said, "Mike." I was using the upstairs bathroom. It was a really deep voice. He appeared older. His frame was also a bit larger. Not muscular, but more stocky in appearance. He said, "Tom, when I asked who invited you." Since I didn't know a single Tom, I inquired about him. I just asked him if he could take his mask off. He didn't even pay attention or respond. He just walked past me toward the front door, then he left. I ran upstairs to check if any of the rooms had been gone through, and if anything had been stolen. With the exception of the bathroom door, all of the doors upstairs were locked, and a quick look revealed that nothing had been taken. I then went to lock the front door and told a lot of my friends how strange that was. I went outside to inquire of a few friends as to who had invited the skeleton man, but no one knew. I eventually let it rest. The party was winding down around midnight. Most people were starting to leave. A few close friends stayed behind a little later to help clean up. It was a successful party at the end of everything. When everyone was gone, I started getting ready for bed. One of my friends, Vinny, stayed over on the couch downstairs. After brushing my teeth and changing into pajamas, I decided to go hang out with Vinny in the living room for a while. We had some drinks and just watched funny YouTube videos on TV. By this time, my 14-year-old sister had fallen asleep. She didn't hang outside with the party because she was too young. We were being quiet so as not to wake her, but when Vinny and I both heard noises from upstairs, it seemed that we woke her up. The sounds, which sounded like footsteps, were coming from somewhere like the bathroom. When I didn't hear my sister's door open, I got a little lost. I decided to go upstairs just to check on her. I knocked on her door, and she didn't answer. I opened it a crack and saw that she was sleeping. What then were those sounds I was hearing? I went to my parents' room and realized the door wasn't clicked shut. I was able to just push it open without twisting the doorknob, which was odd because I made sure their door was closed before the party. Without turning on the lights, I inspected the interior of the room. Then as I backed out of the room, I looked through the crack of the door, and on the other side, I saw that guy in the skeleton bodysuit. I made no mistake, I knew what I was looking at. I'm proud of myself for not screaming or running away. I pulled the door shut while pretending not to have seen him. Then I went downstairs and told Vinny that the guy from before is in the house. I had him call 911 and tell them that there's an intruder in the house, while I tiptoed back upstairs to my sister's room, went inside, and shook her to wake her up. I made sure she would be quiet while following me downstairs and told her what was going on. She did a good job not freaking out either. We met Vinny in the kitchen by the back door when we were downstairs, and then we went outside to the backyard. Then we cut through the side to the front and went to our neighbor's house, ringing the bell at least 3 times. We were allowed to wait with our neighbor while the police arrived, but the man escaped through our parents' bedroom window before the police arrived. I know because the window was now open. Their closet door was also open where my dad keeps his safe. It appears as though someone who was aware of the safe attempted to break into it, or simply remove the entire safe from the floor. It was obvious how the man broke in. He simply just walked into the party again. It could have been any number of people, though. We never found out who it was, but it was someone who knew I was having a party, someone older, and someone who knew about my parents' safe. My sister ended up telling our parents about it, and obviously that was the last party I was ever allowed to throw at their house.